Hey, this is Bill Champlin. You're listening to Brutally Delicious, and have a good day.
Anyway, Bill, I won't keep you too long. I know you've got the whole day of stuff going on. So, Livin For Love, first album, solo album in 10 years.
Yeah.
What was it like finally getting that out, and why so long?
Well, I just got busy doing other stuff. You know, I mean, you could just kind of go, and then there was always well, maybe I should do a solo album. And then you go, well, the record business is kind of iffy at the moment. Why bother? You know, and then I've at some point in the game, a couple of years back, maybe 4 years ago, I went through some major upheaval in my life. I had cancer.
Oh, wow.
You know, real aggressive cancer. Got that behind me. I lost my son to cancer, my older son, Brad. And I just kind of put a different viewpoint on the world. You know, I mean, it's like somebody said, well, your what you care about list becomes smaller, and what you don't care about list becomes quite a bit larger.
Right.
You know,
you got to prioritize.
Yeah, you start prioritizing, and you know, I was kind of looked at the world a little differently. And then at some point, I started writing stuff. I mean, we just done an album with Tamara and Gary Falcone called Wonderground, which we had done a couple of years ago, and that was fine. But I was kind of just sort of getting my production chops together.
Right. And
then Tamara heard me do the song "Livin For Love." Actually, I just was writing it on guitar and just kind of hanging out, TV on real low, and just kind of hanging out. I played it for her. She said, "Bill, it's time. You got to make another solo album." So I mean, she kind of kicked my butt a little bit. I said, "Yeah, it's about time." I mean, there were some songs that were already sort of halfway recorded, or just demo kind of thing, and I ended up fixing those up, and I just went to work. It's weird because in some ways in most ways the pandemic's a drag, but in this particular situation, it kind of kicked my ass to go to work because I couldn't do anything else.
Right.
So,
well, that was kind of what I was getting. One of my other questions was, what is it like having to release or write and release and do this whole album project thing in the middle of this crazy crap?
Well, I had no place to go, and I've got a guest house, and there's two workstations in the guest house. My son Will's got his Ableton rig on one side of the room, and I got Pro Tools rig on the other side of the room. And I'm not a really great programmer or engineer or anything, but I know enough to get guitars, drums, fake drums, guitars, pianos, vocals down, and then I just usually trade out the drummer. Get rid of the little machine and put in real guys. So it ended up being pretty cool, and we ended up getting some great. I mean, and a lot of really cool surprises happened when I talked to Greg Matheson. He sent me 3 things to write, and they all turned out to be, what is the word for it? Funkier than a 3-day-old Band-Aid. I mean, they were. All right, then it is, man. That's so funky. It move in next door, your lawn dies. But
nice.
That was really cool. And then Bruce Geitz sent "Reason to Believe." He sent what ended up being "Reason to Believe." He sent this track. And I've written off and on with Bruce for years and years and years. I mean, he's been in Nashville. We've been over here. And he sent this track. And it was what I really dug about it is George Hawkins was playing bass. And we lost George a couple of years ago to the C word once again.
Right.
And I was just, overjoyed to have a George, have a little bit of Hawkins, in there. George.
And that ended up being the first single, right?
Yeah, it ended up being the first single. The song ended up. I mean, Tamara and I listened to he sent me just an MP3 of the track, just kind of the basic track. It was a funky little mix, and it was. We listened to it. Within 8 bars, we were going, "Where's the pencil? Where's the paper? We got to do this."
Right.
And we got it written within a couple hours. When I was doing the final draft, I realized this thing's really kind of about gratitude in a lot of ways. And Bruce had gone through some stuff. And Janie had helped him through a lot of stuff, and I'd gone through what I'd gone through, and Tamara helped me through, and it kind of ended up being, even though Tamara was one of the writers, for me, I look at it, it was like it was really gratitude to her for getting me through those moments. So I mean, that doesn't mean that it's a maudlin album by any means. There's some great stuff on there, and there's some deep stuff that when I lost my son, it took me about 2.5, 3 years to write the song about it, and that's on the record. It's pretty deep.
Do you find that writing this record was sort of cathartic after going through all you went through?
Absolutely, is what I needed to do. I mean, once again, Tamara called it perfect. She said, you need to do this. You're kind of squirrely. It's time for you to go to work. And and it's funny. There was all the musicians I know that have studios or even workstations are doing the same thing I was doing.
Right.
I can't go out and go on the road. I can't do anything else. Might as well make music. Make new music. So it's kind of kicked everybody's ass into writing new stuff, which is really kind of cool. I think there's going to be more albums in 2021 than there were babies 9 months after the New York blackout.
Yeah, you're right. But I think the music industry sort of has to reinvent itself a little bit now, right? Because the whole old model is gone of release a record tour to promote it and do that whole scene, right? I don't know how this is. You have any idea how this is going to come out or any projections?
Imagine Records, which is Bob Weingard's company. Bob heard that I was doing a record. He said, "Let me hear it." So I sent him a copy of it. I think it was mixed. I had done it. I don't think I'd mastered it yet, but I sent him kind of what I had of all the songs, and he went, "Oh, I'm in." And he said, but he really kind of wanted to, more than anything, wanted to just do the take care of all the digital stuff.
Right.
So, and that's him. He's got that down. Now, I know a lot of people that really prefer having CDs. Or LPs for that matter, something that they can hang on to. Somebody said that on one of the interviews I did the other day. He said, "Well, I talked to Alice Cooper. He says, I don't like to buy air."
I guess that makes sense. I'm an old school guy.
Sounds like Alice. He's a good friend. He's a funny, guy's one of the funniest guys on the earth, man. I love him.
That's great. I'm an old school guy too.
If I'm putting out money, I want to hold on to something, So we're doing the album. The CD sales just at BillChamplin.com.
Okay.
And
actually,
we've had like a merch, /shop.
Right.
And we've had a merch thing there, and we're just going to sell those through, sell CDs through that. I mean, we're getting the CDs, I think, next Tuesday.
Oh, good.
So, and the album's supposed to drop on the 22nd. So I think it's all timing wise, it's all coming together pretty well.
Cool. Awesome. Before I go any further, Ashley, you got something?
You've been so invested in putting this together this past year. Is your wife working on anything by herself?
Oh, she's crazy. She's as good a singer as I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Really, she just gets down in there. So I mean, she sang backgrounds all the way through the record on all kinds of different songs.
Awesome.
Mainly because I needed that high note. My high falsetto ain't what it used to be, and I just kind of went, I need to add a little different flavor to the vocals. So Tamara's in there on songwriting and on vocals all over the place.
Sweet.
And she's as good a songwriter as there is. She comes up with great stuff. Really.
Women have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, exactly. No shit. Well, she's, a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, right. Yeah, your wife's working with you. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, I got that." It's like Yoko. I said, no, hold it. Stop. Everybody out of the pool. This woman is unbelievably great.
You write music for you, not for other people, and it's great when other people like it, and especially when you're making music with someone that you love.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And our son Will, I mean, he's a major piece of work. He was actually a finalist in one of the seasons of The Voice a couple of years back.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah, and he tore the place apart. He was like the spoiler for many weeks in a row. I hated it. I went to the sound stage once a week, and they put all the parents and family of the contestants. They put them in the area right where the air conditioner was for the whole building. I mean, it was like, well, now I know what it's like in the Arctic. I started, it wasn't, this is LA. It doesn't get that cold, but boy, it did in that room. I was bringing blankets and my, camel hair overcoat. I'm not doing this again. I walked out there. It took a whole other week to deep thaw out. You know what I mean?
Does your son get involved in the production at all? Your production, or is he
a little bit? Not that much. He's kind of an Ableton guy. This one I kind of went after by myself. I really wanted to point musically, especially. I wanted to really point it in the direction it goes. There are certain things. Every once in a while, I'll ask him to do a little synth move or something. So he's always there. He's a real supportive guy. I mean, he always says, "Dad, your stuff's sort of like Steely Swamp," which is
nice.
Is pretty nice. He said, "Well, it's kind of nailed it down, I guess." His stuff is great. He's way further into programming than I am. He's so deep.
My son is an Ableton guy too, and he actually is he's majoring over at Shenandoah University in music production and that sort of thing, and that's what he loves to do as well. But he's an Ableton freak.
Yeah, the Ableton stuff. I mean, once you get into it, I mean, I'm going, well, hey, it could have been worse. Could have been drugs. Thank God we don't have that going on.
In the end, Bill, though, I think, and I mean, I guess you're old school like me, but I think the live instruments and the whole live performance of banging things off each other makes things so much more organic, though, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and this wasn't kind of done that way because we couldn't.
Right. So no, I get that.
And I've done records, over the thing. I'm like, for instance, we had on the second song, Especially Me. It's a Greg Matheson track. I was looking to get a horn section on it and this, that, and the other thing. And finally I went, I'm just going to send this to Mark Russo, who's a Doobie Brothers sax player. Mm-hmm. And he was in I think one of the very first versions of Yellow Jackets. He's a major piece of work.
Right.
Monstrous musician, great player. And I sent it to him, and he put one baritone, two tenors, and two altos on the song and just tore it up. And then on a song later in the record, he just played an alto solo, a couple of fills, a solo, and then I gave him the whole tag. I said, "This is yours." Right. And that's when the plot pretty much sickened.
Oh yeah, when you get a player like that, for sure.
Whoa, this guy's amazing. I just, there's certain points right toward the end of the tag where he just lets it fly and just going, holy shnikes, this guy's amazing.
Right.
He played with the Sons for a while. We always had a ball hanging together. He's a really good friend. So, I mean, and that's kind of what happened. I had Lenny Castro, who's he plays with Joe Bonamassa, played with Toto for years and years. He did all the percussion on the record, top to bottom. He's just
nice.
Major cat.
You mentioned Toto. You mentioned Toto, and I was going to ask you anyway, but I don't know if Steve Lukather played on this record, but he's one of my favorite players. I think he's very underrated, one of my favorite players of all time. But what's it like working with him?
Oh, I've been working with Steve basically. I think the first time it was one of David Foster's very first productions. And Steve was hanging out, and we went and did some background vocals. I think he was 18.
Oh, wow.
It was long before Toto's first record came out. He was just this kid that was coming up, and Foster was telling me, watch this guy playing guitar.
What a player.
I've had Steve on my records over the years quite a bit, and he's, he and I and Jay Graydon co-wrote Turn Your Love Around for George Benson. So
oh, wow.
We share a Grammy, which is kind of cool.
That's amazing. Yeah.
He's ridiculous. I mean, with many E's, ridiculous. I mean, he's just one of the best guitar players on the earth. And it's turned out to be quite the band leader and actually quite the band manager. I mean, he sort of single-handedly brought Toto back into the ball game because they were kind of hanging out there. At least in the United States, they weren't playing really big gigs. There was a period where it wasn't really going on, but they got Joseph into the band, and Joseph's a good singer, good writer, good programmer. He's really good at it. So they kind of brought it all together and made it all really happen. And they're just great. I mean, and Luke's ridiculous. Yeah. Too bad he doesn't have a sense of humor.
Oh, really?
Did you ever see there was a thing where he was the people next door to his house started doing leaf blowers at about 6:30 or 7 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Every morning, and he was just going, what is the story? How many leaves can fall? You know what I mean? Every morning he's got this whole machine going. So he takes his Marshall, puts it outside, and just you see him in his pajamas just playing at breakneck speed, and cranking off a big solo thing, and finally he just yells, "Good morning!" He'd gone over and nicely asked him to shut it down, but they wouldn't do it. So it's like, okay, you want to play that game? I got a way louder machine than a leaf blower.
What do you have planned for? I mean, I guess maybe you can't plan with everything going on, but what is on your agenda for 2021 after?
I want to play live. I want to take this out live, and I'm kind of known for other songs that I've sung over the years. A couple of Chicago songs that I was singing on. And we'll learn those. We'll learn any of the. I got a few songwriting things I did with George Benson and Earth, Wind and Fire. Always play those live. So I mean, it's when I go out live, it's not going to just be the new album. We're going to play the whole new album.
Right.
Have you thought about doing the virtual thing, like the virtual streaming, like bands have been adopting pretty?
Yeah,
quickly?
You see that, you see everybody in their own little square, and I always expect to hear, "Here's a story about a man named Brady."
Right.
But I realize, I'm not putting anybody down for doing it. I haven't really done it. I mean, I've done one or two things where there was a benefit for kids or something that that the mayor of Los Angeles put together, and I figured out how to do it. Will helped me through the Zoom thing. I'm a little more adept at Zoom at this point because I've done things like this. I wouldn't know how to generate a Zoom, but I know how to come in on your meeting. It works pretty good.
Right.
But I mean, my technology stopped with 2 orange juice cans and a long piece of string. There's
right.
There's your simple telephone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So. But anyway, I really want more than anything at this point of the game, especially when we got Shauna O'Donnell involved, and Shauna's amazing. She's got me.
She's great.
Talking. She's real sweetie pie. I was so, and when I signed with Imagine Records, he said, "Well, we'll get you a publicist." And I was like, "Well, I know a few." He says, "Wait till you check this person out," and she's just great.
I've been working with her for 15 years or more now, and she's been awesome all the way through.
Oh, she's on a roll, and she says, "Hey, she said, you actually do what I tell you to do, and show up on time." She said, "Some of the younger bands don't quite get that, dude. Press and visibility, and those things are the only thing that you got at this point of the game." So
it's funny you said that because we had an 11 o'clock this morning with a really big European band, and we waited till 11:30. No show. Publicists can't find them.
Yeah, well, it can happen. I mean, there can be things that happen, but I try. I mean, I'm sort of at this point in the game. I'm built around trying to do this record, and I've always been one of those guys that I've done a handful of solo records by myself and different situations, and I just kind of take them and throw them at the wall. And this time I'm going, this thing really deserves to be heard. And there's a lot of stuff on it. I kind of somewhere when I started this record, I read somewhere it says if it's not personal, it's not art. And I put my heart and soul and balls into this thing as much as I could. And I played it for it was a guy who was an A&R guy on my last solo album, and he was flippant. I sent him a SoundCloud link, and he was just crazy. He was just like, "This is unbelievable. This is kind of what the world needs right now." Because nobody's touching, this 6 foot. I think, we talk about, going virtual all the time, but this 6 feet social distancing that we're doing, that I think is more dangerous than anything, especially for kids.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Where's we need to have, like my Will's daughter, Harper, she does Irish dancing, and she's really good at it. So they've been kicking her up, and then this thing happens. So she's doing virtual school, but she's also going to the, wearing masks and, hand sanitizers, and she's going to these things, and she's getting a certain amount of hang with other kids. I can't imagine going, being 8 or 9 years old and not having any children to hang with. I mean, it's just got to be just ridiculous,
Yep.
So it's not. I mean, believe me, I understand that the pandemic's a drag. Our son tested positive. Will did, but he's, I mean, I'm being careful is all that, but there's a lot of things that are coming down that are really a drag. I mean, just there's no touch. And I was going, well, try to touch people with the music, if at some level, maybe, because maybe that's the only thing we got at this point in the game is it because the whole culture is what's kept the culture going. What keeps it moving is not allowed at the moment, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it feels like a last effort.
I'll also be honest with you. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go, but music is the thing that has gotten me through life, pretty much. All those trouble spots like we're in now. Music is the thing that connects you to everything, right, and keeps you moving.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of that's one of the reasons why we all do what we can. I'm going to write a song that's going to save the world. Well, I might have thought that when I was younger, but I know that's not true. That ain't going to happen. But if somebody hears something in what I've written and it connects with them, it's a success. It's and the more chances you have of doing that. It's like the more you practice your craft, the better chance of art coming through.
Do you think this is your most favorite one? Your most favorite album?
Well, at the moment, somebody said one time, one asked, what are the 3 best songs ever written? The guy said, well, let me see. Amazing Grace, Bridge Over Troubled Waters, and the song I wrote this morning.
Right. The one you most connected to.
Yeah, and so at the moment, maybe my next album I'll be more happy with, but I think, I'm starting to think about what to do on the next album, and I produce pretty seriously on records, but the next one I might just really go to a real cut down thing with just piano, Fender bass, drums, and vocal, and see what happens with that, because I've never done that. I've always packed it up, filled it up with really good things. So I'm kind of, it's sort of interesting me to try to say, well, now you need to write something where the backgrounds aren't necessary for the chorus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm going to let you go in a second, but I think that's interesting too, because sometimes the more stripped down stuff connects even better. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, at some level you have, less is more means a lot at some level. I really like packing it up because I play the guitar and I play the keyboards and I find myself in there. I'm kind of primarily known as a Hammond organ player, so I can put a lot of organ on stuff.
Ooh.
And then, the more stuff you do, the less volume you can get out of each one of them. So and that's really kind of the challenge of making records at this point when you're producing at that level. If you're in there with just a small group and singing, you can maybe go direct to 2-track, and there's your song. Way easier, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Good luck with the record and stay safe, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Ashley.
Thank you.
Go hang out with the kids.
No, I've locked myself in the car now, so
I'm digging it. Thanks, you guys.
Stay safe, Bill. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
I know. All right.
Bye-bye. Be good. See you soon. Bye-bye.